Did you say goodbye to the virus or not? And where did you disappear? Same. Wow. तुम ऑनलाइन थे ना लास्ट क्लास क्यों? All good? Good, no? Chalo. We are going to start with what today?
Transpiration.
नहीं.
Sorry, absorption.
Absorption. Transpiration पहले नहीं पढ़ाऊंगी. Same thing I suffered with excretory system when I taught you. काफी सारा चीज तुमको आता नहीं है, and then I should have taught you circulatory first, and then I should have taught you excretory. So now what happened, Tanmay? Not well or what? Tanmay, where's the other Tanmay gone? How there? Okay. Now, so your test on which chapter is over now? Only one.
Chromosome and endometrium.
And okay. So we are already done with the chapter. Last class we are already studying here now. Last class we are already completed with the fourth chapter that is excretory system. We are already done with that chapter. Before I move on to the next chapter, absorption by roots, I'll take a 5-minute oral test. Whatever chapter I have finished. Every time I said already, now you don't ask me that which chapter, which day I'm going to test you. Anytime, any chapter I'm going to test you. Ultimately, you're going to write a exam on all the chapters. Just 5 minutes. I want all of you to listen to the questions. No disturbance in between. Jo bhi disturb karega bahar jayega. The person I point, only that person will answer. Because I want everybody to answer and remember and read. So already you know which are the chapters that we are already through. Here, I'm talking about chapters I have finished teaching here. Okay. The first one. An enzyme. I'm sorry. No, we are not done with that. A hormone which is responsible for reabsorption in the kidney tubules. Hormone reabsorption in kidney tubules. क्या नाम है? सोहम. हाँ बोलो. Not to take too much time. Huh? अगर नहीं आता बोलो मैम. I don't know. हाँ? Very good. ADH. Cretinism is a condition caused by the under secretion of which hormone? Very good. The site of ultrafiltration. Yaad karo, very simple it is. I am asking you elementary questions. Site of ultrafiltration. पिछले दिन तुम थे मेरे क्लास में. ओमकार. Glomerulus.
I'm looking at glomerulus or magnesium.
No, glomerulus. Basic nitrogen capsule, Bowman's capsule or glomerulus. Ultrafiltration Bowman's capsule में नहीं होता है. Next is definition of karyokinesis. The sequential process of sequential process of nuclear division in a cell. Karyokinesis. Name the stage of mitosis where the duplication of chromosome takes place. Shandeep. Stage of mitosis, duplication of chromosomes. Crossing over in meiosis takes place in what type of chromosomes? Crossing over in meiosis takes place in what type of chromosomes? Homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes. Name two substances which are majorly reabsorbed in the PCT. Oh, I'm shocked. Socho na. Two substances majorly reabsorbed in the PCT, I said. याद आ रहा है? Reabsorbed का मतलब क्या था? Reabsorbed in the PCT. Okay, I'll take from him. बोलो.
Glucose, sodium.
Sodium and glucose. ये तुमने बोला कि इसने तुमको बोला? हाथ तो तुम्हारा है, आंसर तुम्हारा है कि उससे भाड़ा किया है? हाँ? Okay, very good. If it is so, then I should be appreciating you. Next is two substances which undergo process of secretion in the tubular part of the nephron. Two substances which show the process of secretion in the tubular part of the nephron. Aishwarya. Very good. Urea, uric acid. Hormone which is responsible for Addison's disease. याद करो. Hormone responsible for Addison's disease. सबसे लास्ट ग्लैंड, छोटा सा ग्लैंड हमने जो सीखा था, तो छोटा सा ग्लैंड सीखा था, सबसे इलाबोरेट सीखा था हमने. Cortisone, you can say cortisone. What is exophthalmic goiter? In one sentence, basic चीज खाली मुझे चाहिए. I don't want any explanations now. What is exophthalmic goiter? अच्छा, why is it exophthalmic goiter caused? Very good. Over secretion of thyroxine. From which part or from which gland is oxytocin released? नहीं बजने दो. क्या है आयु सिक्की? क्या करना? भाई बहन एक्सेट्रा XYZ कोई भी हमें याद नहीं करना चाहिए. अब बताओ, तुम बताओ. What was my question? What was my question?
From which gland was the
From which gland is oxytocin released? Oxytocin. From which gland? Pituitary gland. What is the full form of FSH? I asked you. What is the full form of FSH? फटाफट. इसको पता है? Follicle stimulating hormone. Give one function of FSH. One function of FSH. Helps in FSH helps in the formation of seminiferous tubules, for the formation of sperms, you should say. FSH helps in the formation of sperms by spermatogenesis. and ovum by the process of oogenesis. ये basic answer है. Next is, what is the major reason for the hydrostatic pressure in the glomerulus? Most important reason, एक ही basic reason हमने सीखा है, वैसे तो 4 important reasons है. What is the most important reason for the development of hydrostatic pressure in the glomerulus? In the glomerulus, reason क्या है? Reason क्या है?
And because those tubules are very
Because fast.
Because of the difference in the diameter of the
Efferent and the afferent. Very good. Efferent and the afferent. What is the longest phase of the cell cycle? Longest phase of the cell cycle क्या है? Longest phase of the cell cycle. Longest phase of the cell cycle, मतलब interphase का longest G1 phase. G1 phase is the longest phase of the cell cycle. Okay, keep reading, all of you. Keep reading. Anytime I'll give you short written tests, oral tests. जो भी अभी already you have finished and you are now approaching towards the new chapters. वो पहले वाले concept भूलना नहीं है. Every time keep them fresh. Every time keep them fresh. Let us now start the next chapter, that is absorption. We start with the concept of absorption by who? In this chapter, there are a whole lot of definitions and concepts that you have to come across. पता चलेगा सीधा रास्ते पे जाओगे. Let us first finish with this. Now, what are we discussing is absorption by roots. What are we trying to understand? First of all, we come across that in this entire chapter, we'll have to first find out what are the major structures involved in the absorption of water, minerals, soluble mineral salts from the soil to all the parts of the plant, to the upper regions of the plant. So, basically, if I'm just trying to understand that if this is a plant that we understand, and now that the taproot system, I only talk about the taproot system. And these tap roots will have a large number of fine rootlets and then root hairs. So now, whenever we are talking about absorption by roots, what are we trying to come across? By the process of absorption by roots, we try to come across, it is the roots which are constantly involved in the process of absorption. But is it only a simple structure that we are talking about present below the soil, which is dragging and absorbing the water and the soil and the minerals, the water and the soluble minerals? No, there's a huge network of cells. There's a huge network of cells. So first of all, if I talk about these roots also, I understand that there is something known as the tap root. This will have a large number of rootlets, and then it will have a large number of root hairs. And actually, we are not talking about the root hairs to understand. It is actually the root hairs and the root hair cells which are doing the job of absorption and then taking them in a gradual manner, in a gradual passage pathway to the upper parts of the plant. So we learn that sequentially, but first of all, let us try to understand need kya hai? Why should the plant constantly be in a process to absorb so much of water and the minerals and the ions and the salts from the soil, and quite a number of times they are absorbing, they are taking the soil, minerals and salts, spending so much of energy also. Then what is the need? The need is, first of all, let us try to understand that the plants need so much of these for the process of photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis? The basic concept to remember. Photosynthesis kya hai? A particular process which is involved in the making of the organic food. Specialized cells of the plant which are involved in the process of making organic food. So abhi, by the process or in this concept of photosynthesis, how do we try to fit in absorption? We are trying to understand absorption, and why are we talking about photosynthesis? The relation is, whenever we talk about photosynthesis, can we talk about formation of the organic food without water? No. Formation of the organic food without water is not possible, because the moment we talk about the process of photosynthesis happening, there also we understand that the process of photosynthesis very much requires surplus of water. Surplus of water के बिना process of photosynthesis हो ही नहीं सकता. मतलब the process of photosynthesis to happen, every plant cell requires so much of water. At the same time, for the process of photosynthesis, a very important pigment known as chlorophyll is necessary. And now if I have to understand what are some of the minerals and elements necessary for the process of chlorophyll formation, we understand that a whole lot of carbon, nitrogen, magnesium, and certain other different type of ions and minerals are necessary. So when we are talking about here, chlorophyll, which is a green colored pigment, very much necessary for the process of absorption of the solar energy, itself is an assemblage of so many ions: carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, magnesium. And from where will the plant get this? From where will the plant cell get this? Majorly from the soil. Majorly from the soil. Apart from this, I should also say that क्या process of photosynthesis खाली water और chemical chlorophyll से बन जाता होगा? No, there are so much of enzymes necessary. So many enzymes are necessary for this process. For the process of photosynthesis, so many enzymes are necessary. अभी now if I have to talk about the enzymes के जो elemental composition है, enzymes are also made from various different type of mineral elements. Enzymes are also formed from various different type of components जो soil से ही आएगा by the way of the water. So एक तो है yes, by the process of or for the process of photosynthesis, adequate amount of water is necessary. Next, transpiration. Now this will more or less go together. When we are first of all trying to understand what is transpiration, I should say that if this is a plant, then what is transpiration? Transpiration is the loss of water in the form of water vapor. That is transpiration, no? What is transpiration? Loss of water by the upper parts of the plant, aerial parts of the plant, in the form of what? In the form of vapor. So more the amount of water loss in the form of vapor, what will happen? More the amount of water loss, more is the amount of intake of water. In the summer, whatever amount of water is evaporated from the surface of our body, that much of thirst also will develop and we drink more water. Same is happening for a tree, same is happening for a plant. The more the rate of transpiration, more the rate of loss of water from the aerial parts of the plant, more will be the urge and more will be the force to take in water, take in water, take in water and keep dragging it upwards. So here, first of all, we are saying transpiration and then we talk about transportation. So, ये दोनों में difference क्या है? I'm saying absorption of or absorption by roots is associated with transpiration. इसका क्या link क्या है? Link यही है that when I'm talking about transpiration, the loss of water is possible only when the absorption of water by the roots is there. So it is something like when I talk about the loss of water in the form of vapor, the loss of water vapor is almost equal to the amount of water absorbed, is almost equal to the amount of water absorbed. Almost. So now that we are talking about, yes, almost on an average we come across that whatever amount of the water loss is almost the amount of water taken by the way of the roots. अब यहाँ पे if the plant cells which are undergoing the process of photosynthesis, now that I talk about the xylem or the phloem or any other type of the columnar, those tubular arrangement of the vascular bundles in the plant. Whenever I have to talk about the arrangement of the vascular bundles in the plant, I understand that these vascular bundles are doing two types of job. Either carry water minerals by the way of xylem or carry soluble food by the way of the phloem. So, इसमें one way I am saying that here the xylem and the phloem, they are allowing the process of transportation possible. The xylem is allowing the transportation of water minerals to the upper parts of the plant where the process of photosynthesis is happening, organic food is getting formed. But after the process of organic food now getting formed, if I have to say that yes, glucose, this glucose also should get dissolved in water. And only in the dissolved form, this phloem will deliver. Only in the dissolved form, only in the soluble form, the phloem will transport food. So is it not we are saying that the cell should always have adequate amount of water? Yes, the plant cell should always have adequate amount of water. Not only for the process of photosynthesis, but after photosynthesis also the food should get dissolved. The food should become soluble. If the food becomes soluble, then only the process of transportation. अभी अगर soluble नहीं है तो क्या हो सकता है? If the food is not soluble, तब क्या होगा? The growth process of the plant will stop. The plant is making food in the form of glucose, and the plant cells, surrounding plant cells, does not have adequate amount of water. अब क्या होगा? The food is not getting channels to get distributed. The food gets accumulated at one particular region of the plant or certain regions of the plant. So काफी सारे plants or काफी सारे plant parts, they start getting yellow, they start yellowing. So that is what we talk about, the premature aging of the plant, death of the plant parts, drying out of the plant parts. So for the process of transportation also, always we understand that the plant parts should always have adequate amount of water. Mechanical stiffness. With which part of the plant are we talking about? We are talking about petals, we are talking about leaves, we are talking about stem, etc. Now, what is the meaning of this mechanical stiffness when we are saying? What does this mean?
Stability for the
Every particular cell of the leaf should have. Now that I talk about a cell of the leaf. I may talk about a single plant cell, and we are very much aware. If it is a plant cell, it should have what? What is the central region known as? Vacuole. What should this vacuole contain? What does the vacuole contain? Cell sap. What is the what does this sap contain? What is sap made up of? Mineral, water and minerals. So I'm saying that this sap has, the sap is, write down somewhere, huh? Sap is water and mineral. Sap means water and minerals. In the entire chapter, we are going to come across this word. So no confusion later. What are we talking about? This sap. Now that this vacuole that we are talking about, if the vacuole is filled with water, then the plant parts look very stiff. If the vacuole is filled with water. Now, did you ever notice by afternoon? Did you ever notice by afternoon when it was very hot and sunny? Just few days back also, when it was very, very sunny in the afternoon. Did you ever notice that the leaves of certain plants, especially the shrubs and the herbs, leaves of certain plants, they used to roll, they used to look dried out, they used to limp down. But now that the monsoon approaches, that is not going to happen much. That is not going to happen much. We would generally not see any wrinkling and wilting of the leaves much. Why like that? Because if the sap excuse me, if the sap is filled with water, the plant parts remain tight. That is called stiffness. That is very, very evident. We have always come across with leaves of the plants. At the same time, as I said, in the afternoon we may come across that the leaves start wilting. But does this happen early morning? No, that does not happen early morning. Can you tell me why? Because transpiration is very low in the early morning. No, transpiration is very low. Early morning transpiration is low. Water.
Even dew formation.
Dew formation is there. That's a different concept on dew formation. No, here dew formation is a concept which is a bit different from what I'm telling you now. That also will come across with some other word now to understand. But now what I'm trying to say is, the plant parts, we have always come across that early morning the leaves look fresh. If this is one particular plant, a young plant, early morning the leaves would be that fresh, but afternoon the leaves would wilt like this. If this is morning, this is afternoon. Why like this here? Why in the morning they are this way? In the morning, the sap is filled with water. The loss of the water is much lesser. In the afternoon, the loss of the water is too high because of the temperature, much higher. And the sap of every, or the vacuole of every single cell, not filled with water. They are deficient in water. That's the reason the leaves start losing their stiffness. Why do plant parts lose their stiffness in the afternoon? But they remain stiff in the morning, late in the evening. Yeah, they are fresh and stiff. Why like that? It's only because of the amount of water that is there in the sap. I talk about one word here now. If the water is full, if the water in the sap, if the water in the vacuole is filled up, if the sap in the vacuole is filled up, what do you call this particular cell as? You would say this cell is a turgid cell. Clear? So what I said, this condition that we are trying to understand, that is, we are talking about a condition where we are saying that the stiffness of the plant part is only majorly due to the amount of the sap in the vacuole. More the amount of sap, maximum the amount of sap, maximum is the stiffness. So we are trying to come across that what is the need that the plant should have adequate amount of water. What is the need that the plant should constantly keep on absorbing so much of water? The plant should keep on absorbing so much of water. We have come across that it has to undergo processes like transpiration and transpiration, mechanical stiffness, photosynthesis. Now let us try understanding then what are some of the characteristics of these root cells which allow the process. So यहाँ पे, as we are talking about this, we'll first talk about root hairs. Root hairs. From if I have to understand plant of a, or if I have to understand a single small herbaceous plant also, what type of plants actually I mean to say? Maybe some tulsi plants, money plants, small plants they are. They also will be having an elaborate branching system of the root. They also will be having an elaborate branching system of the root. Now, who can tell me what are the two types of roots that we come across? Take example.
Fibrous roots will be like
Ma'am, fibrous will be grass and taps will be
Fibrous will
carrots.
be
Grass.
fibrous will be grass. So surface area, if I have to understand, किसमें ज़्यादा होगा?
Fibrous.
हाँ?
Fibrous.
हाँ. हाँ. Fibrous में नहीं होगा. Tap root में ज़्यादा होगा surface area. That is what we are going to understand now. Roots, root hairs when I say, this is a particular branching system where I'm saying, I had written down there also, any particular roots will be having root hairs or the branching pattern from rootlets. What are root hairs? Fine hair-like structures from every rootlet. That means whenever I'm talking about a single taproot hair, from this I understand that there may be a rootlet, and from this rootlet again a large number of branches developing. Root hairs, but basically what are they? These are extensions of epidermal cells. These are extensions of epidermal cells. Now, with the extensions of epidermal cells, meaning if I can magnify, if I have to magnify this particular region to understand that how would they look like? Let us try to understand. Keep your pencils ready, you'll have to draw this diagram. We have to understand what are the basic characteristics of these root cells. The basic characteristics of these root cells would be something like this. pencil and start drawing the diagram. This is a plant cell, so you very much know that these are certain parts that the plant cell will have. Let us start labeling them. Cell wall. Next is cell membrane. Cell wall, cell membrane. Then we have got the vacuole. Now here in this diagram, I have drawn 3 vacuole here. You can draw 1. Nucleus. Then we have the cytoplasm. This diagram you'll have to draw. Sometimes you are asked to draw, sometimes you get in the paper to label the parts. Start drawing there. It will not take more than 2 minutes to finish the diagram neat and with all the parts labeled. Sometimes you will get this diagram in the paper with parts 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll be asked to label, and various other questions related. We'll be discussing that. First, let us try to understand what we draw here. We have been talking about a root hair cell here. What are the parts of a root hair cell? Believing that this is a plant cell, so obviously it should have parts like the cell wall, the cell membrane, the nucleus, the vacuole, the cytoplasm. Now, we talk about that these root hairs, the root hair cells, what are some of the other properties? These root hair cells, as I said, that in a taproot, whenever we are talking about the branching system, the branching system of the taproot is maximum because they have got rootlets from every.
And there are 2 nucleuses.
There are no, I have drawn it. No, sorry. One. So now there will be branching system, adequate branching system, every rootlet giving rise to enough number of root hairs. And every single root hair cell, also to remember, it is nothing but an extension of the epidermal cell. Epidermal cell it is. So now, when we try understanding that the first feature, the structure is something like this, so such type of cells are present in huge numbers. But what can be their significance? Their significance is they provide enormous surface area. They provide enormous surface area. Surface area for what? They provide enormous surface area for absorption. They provide enormous surface area for absorption. What is the significance of the enormous? What is the surface? What is the significance for the presence of millions of root hairs? Enormous surface area for the process of absorption of the water. So that is what you are supposed to write down. After this, we try to also understand the walls now. Here we are trying to come across the cell wall and the cell membrane. See here in the diagram also you can come across the cell wall and the cell membrane. What are the two specialized features of the cell wall and the cell membrane to come across? Cell wall. When we talk about certain features of the cell wall, always come across that first of all, when we are talking about the cell wall, it is made up of cellulose. Yes, it is made up of cellulose. And the nature always, you know that this is freely permeable. Made up of cell wall, freely permeable. And cellulose is what type of a chemical composition we are talking about? It is a polysaccharide. And this cellulose, which is a polysaccharide, gives also stiffness to the cells. The plant cells are more stiff because of the presence of the cell wall. But in addition to the cellulose or cellulosic cell wall, what does the plant cell also contain? The plant cell also contains cell membrane. Then what are the features of the cell membrane here? The features of the cell membrane would be that the cell membrane is made up of what? Remember, the cell membrane is made up of lipoproteins. The cell membrane is made up of lipoproteins, and this is selectively permeable. And the cell membrane is selectively permeable. What is the meaning of selectively permeable? It will allow movement of specific molecules only to pass through. Only specific molecules can pass through. So that way, how is a plant cell benefited? How is a plant cell benefited? The plant cell is benefited especially when we are talking about the aquatic conditions. In the aquatic conditions, we are saying that the plant cell must be having the cell wall, no? And we are saying that the cell wall is freely permeable. It allows all the different type of molecules to get in or get out. But the cell membrane will again hold on certain molecules, not allow their movement. So because of these properties, quite a number of times, the aquatic plants, the cell wall of the aquatic plants, they are prevented from bursting. They can prevent themselves from bursting. Otherwise, the plant cells of the aquatic plants, which are already in so much enormous amount of water, they could have bursted every time. They don't. So the second point with reference to thin walls, what are we trying to understand? We are trying to come across that in the entire plant, we have the leaves also, we have the stem also, we have the branches also. Why are we only talking about the roots so far the process of absorption is concerned? Because it is the roots which have got some special properties. एक तो है number of root hairs are so many, which is allowing so much of surface area. Was it possible for the branches and the twigs and the leaves? No. Itna surface area no other part of the plant has. Second, when I talk about these particular membranes, the cell wall and the cell membrane, this type of membranes also when we are talking about, no, basically when we are talking about the cell wall and the cell membrane, these are two specific gateways which allow the process of transfer. The third point, what did I write the third point as? The third point we were talking about as is hypertonic cell sap. Now let us talk about the third point, which is very, very important here. Cell sap. What is the nature of the cell sap? We know what hypertonic. Hypertonic cell sap. Concentrated cell sap. That is what we understand, no? Concentrated cell sap. Now, this particular plant cell, again, if I look into this particular figure, what is there outside? So much of water, so much of salt. Salts and ions are also there. I'm sorry. So now, when we are talking about this particular condition, just tell me here. I say that the water goes inside, but the salts generally do not, by a regular process, the salts generally do not. What should be the reason behind it? What do you think? What should be the reason behind it? Cell sap is concentrated. Then what do you understand by this? Whenever I talk about any regular condition this way, I'm talking about a condition where now these are the root cells, sap is highly concentrated. What do I mean by that? When I check 1 ml, when I check 1 ml of sap and 1 ml of soil water, when I check 1 ml of sap and 1 ml of soil water, the soil water is known to have more water. The soil water is known to be more dilute. This sap, we have been talking about this word now already for a number of times. Sap, this sap is having more of salts and ions and less of water. If I try understanding these two terms, then in simple words, I should say that this medium is concentrated. This is concentrated. And what do I write here? I will write dilute. Common example में कैसे दूँ? Something like I am talking about a tumbler of water. इसमें क्या है? 100 ml of water है. मैंने 2 tumbler water ले लिया. 100 ml water है. इसमें मैंने दिया 5 teaspoons of sugar. इसमें दिया 1 teaspoon of sugar. Which one is dilute? 100 ml water में 1 teaspoon of sugar, ये हो गया dilute. So now, what are we trying to understand? We are trying to understand just now I saw your performance, which was miserable, I should say. And since I meet you only 1 hour a week, in this condition of my throat also, I'm making it a point that I should not waste time because I have to finish so much. Nothing else. I will only tell you that have some that shame in your body somewhere. You have been born shameless, I think so. एक तो subject आता नहीं है, कुछ भी you don't know anything. Your test performances are horrible. Your behavior is horrible. You are also able to understand that I'm straining myself only to utilize this hour very fruitfully. Otherwise, I could have asked you to do something. I'm not in a mood to teach. No. At least on this day, don't make me scream and shout and yell at you. That much also maturity you don't have. Sorry state it is. Sorry state. I feel bad for your parents. Tomorrow to life. I really don't know what to say. I generally don't say all these things to my students. At least you can write down one definition. At least you can now, if I walk down there, I'm very sure that's why today I'm walking, not walking down only. I don't want to strain my throat unnecessarily. If I walk down, the moment I see your diagram, I feel like smashing you.
Not then. You can see it.
If you create a nonsense in this class, I will be forced to put you outside the class. I'm sorry. Okay. So now we are more or less aware what is the meaning of the word concentrated and what is the meaning of the word dilute. So एक particular solution में there will be two parts. एक होगा solvent and एक होगा solute. तो यहाँ पे कौन सा है solvent? I took water as a solvent and I am talking sugar as a solute. तो इसमें which is variable क्या है? Variable is the solute. Solvent तो मैंने same ले लिया. So I'm saying that this is a concentrated medium and this is a dilute medium because the amount of the solute is much lesser. Similarly, you may ask me that how are you saying that the sap is concentrated because a particular plant cell, how much of the sap does it contain? So little. And the water surrounding the plant will be an enormous amount if the soil is well watered. No, we don't judge it that way. We would judge it volume by volume. 1 ml plant set में कितना solute कितना solvent and उतना ही soil water में कितना solute कितना solvent. That's good. Volume by volume that judging has to be done. So वैसे जब देखा गया, it has always been found that the sap is more concentrated. So what is the word we use? Sap is hypertonic. Sap is hypertonic. Now, since the sap is hypertonic, that is the reason here what is more? Salts and ions are more, water is less. Bahar, in the soil, water, what is more? Water is more and salts and ions are lesser. So now comparatively, since water is more here, water constantly enters inside from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. So what is the most important reason? This is just the start. We are talking about many more definitions will come across. What is the most important reason for the continuous absorption of water by the root hair cells? Your answer should be always the hypertonicity of the root hair cells. Let us take that question. What is the primary reason? That's the first question that was written down in the notebook. What is the primary reason? We are talking about hypertonicity of the cell sap under that. What is the primary reason for? What is the primary reason for the absorption? What is the primary reason for continuous absorption of water by the root hair cells? By the root hair cells. By the root hair cells. Answer लिखो फटाफट. The continuous absorption of water. Continuous absorption of water by the root hair cells. Continuous absorption of water by the root hair cells is because of the hypertonic nature of the sap. Because of the hypertonic nature of the sap. Because of the hypertonic nature of the sap. As compared to the soil water. As compared to the soil water. As compared to the soil water. Now next is we are going to learn certain phenomena so far in this chapter. So first of all, what did we learn? First of all, in this chapter, we had learned that which is the part of the plant we are talking about. We are talking about the root hair cells and the specific small diagram that we have formed. What are the special characteristics which make the root hair cells suitable for the process of absorption? And then we had learned what is the first point? The surface area. It is the root hair cells which provide enormous surface area. No other particular plant part can produce this. Second, because of specialized membranes, the cell membrane, cell wall, and their properties. Third is we have been talking about the hypertonicity of the cell. Now we talk about the phenomena which also allow the process of absorption. The first three that we are going to talk about. First is imbibition. Now, when we talk about imbibition, we try to come across again. Let me draw a plant cell again. With the special properties that yes, there is the cell wall and then the cell membrane and then the vacuole. So here है एक cell and then I'm drawing the vacuole, a big vacuole inside. But surrounding this plant cell, I now understand that there is adequate amount of moisture, maybe. I'm now talking about adequate amount of moisture surrounding this particular plant cell. There is adequate amount of moisture. So there is a cloud of moisture surrounding this plant cell. Because of this, so much of pressure is being built up. And this is what is allowing certain molecules to enter because the pressure is so big. Something like this is the door. Outside the door, if you just understand, outside the door, there are 50 students standing. Not possible, no. So now we are just talking about a situation where outside the door, there's a huge crowd. And I am trying to still close the door. Will I be successful in it? No, some of them will be forcing me and they will enter. The pressure is so big. The pressure is so big. So now when I'm trying to somehow close it, no, I'm not able to do it because some of them from outside forcing and entering. This is what is happening when we talk about the concept of inhibition, where since the amount of water molecules surrounding the cell wall is so much, and since the cell wall is hydrophilic in nature, we'll complete with this definition. So I said here, first of all, to understand the concept of imbibition, we are talking about the cell wall is hydrophilic. The cell wall is hydrophilic. What is the meaning of hydrophilic? Water loving. So now we are talking about that the cell wall is hydrophilic. And now, when surrounding the plant cells, there is so much of water. Yes, the water molecules are also clinging to the cell wall. They are all clinging to the cell wall. They are all clinging to the cell wall. This is what is allowing a little bit of the water molecule to enter. And where are they? They are in the space between the cell wall and the cell membrane. Did they enter into the vacuole? No, they will not because the force is not that big. The force is little only. The force is not that big that they can directly enter into the vacuole of the cell. I'll wind up saying this, that what is meant by imbibition? The absorption of water by surface attraction. The absorption of water, the taking in of water by surface attraction. Why surface attraction? Because the cellulosic cell wall is having so many water molecules on its outer surface, clinging. So we'll continue again with this the next time.